Welcome to Free Range Flock. We were once the latchkey kids who came home to an empty house after school. We were feral, resilient, cynical, and innovative. Older than Google. Our teenage faces were never posted on social media. The internet was just an idea in our youth. Now we are older, wiser, and thriving. Our independent ways will continue to serve us. We plan to keep defying the odds, and we will carve our own path with grace, with humor, with joy, our way. We've been through some stuff. We will continue to keep pushing, and we are not going anywhere. The former latchkey kids are now the free range flock.
So Sasa, have you been adulting lately?
Ooh, interesting question. Yes, actually, I have been adulting lately because I paid off my credit card.
Yay! That's some serious adulting right there.
I'm so excited. Now, that doesn't mean I don't owe money to people because, I still have a car payment and we're having construction done on the house. So there's still money that's going out, but no more credit card.
Good. So my adulting is also financial in that I'm seeing a financial advisor.
Ooh.
And it's through my bank. And I was very scared about just that reality of like putting my number reality on paper and like sliding it over and handing it to someone. But it had to be done because I'm, 54 and I want to retire in the next 12, 13, 15 years, who knows? And I just needed a reality check. And so when I left, I was like, this is serious adulting right here. This is so lovely. It felt good. Adulting is this term we've been hearing nowadays from a lot of people, and it's this practice of behaving like an responsible adult. Like you're doing some mundane tasks, but they're necessary. It's like I paid my bills today, or I did that chore that I hate. Look at me adulting. So you're proud of yourself that you've done something that you needed to do, but it's something that you think of it as an adult being responsible doing.
Right.
So we've been using this term a lot when I do something like I dread, when I sit down and do my monthly budget. I dread sitting down and doing that. But when I do it, I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm adulting. Look at me. But we tend to think of this term really differently once we get to midlife. Do you agree?
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I think that you kind of get faced with those adult things. The older you get, the more you kind of have to actually face them. And I think part of that is just experience, and the things that you have to do to be successful. And then the other is just as you get older, things start like hitting you in the face, like health concerns, or you've got a child, or you have a parent that you're helping to take care of in their declining years. So it's kind of, you're kind of forced into being more adult as you get older.
And you've lived with the consequences of when you didn't take something seriously, like when you didn't think about it enough and go, okay, I know what that means when I don't have a monthly budget, because it means that I'm going to forget something, or bill's going to go unpaid, or I'm not going to have enough to pay for groceries. It's one of those, you've seen the other end and I don't want to experience that again. I got to really give it my time. So for this episode, we want to discuss what adulting looks like in midlife to remind you of those responsibilities and important tasks you need to be doing. And don't worry, we'll have some fun along the way. It's not going to be boring. So when you're in your 40s and 50s and early 60s, there's no doubt that you are adulting right now, right? Because you're an adult, you're adulting. And I'm sure you've been adulting all the damn day. You've been like, Amy, I've been adulting. What else? But now it's time to add some important things to your adulting list. So hopefully we're going to inspire you today of some things you should be thinking of. So we're going to go back and forth and talk about what's on our adulting list. So those are those things that we're trying to prioritize now that need to be done that are also a form of adulting.
Yes.
So Sarah, share me one of yours. So what's one that you want to share?
Well, I think before we even start on our list, I think we need to give props to folks who are even given it an attempt.
Yes.
It's hard to adult.
Yes.
And, some days are more successful than others. So if you're getting up and you're, taking that shower and you're getting to your job and you're doing the things you got to do to live your life, you're adulting. It's okay. The things that we're getting ready to talk about are our goals, and that our goals might look a little bit different than your goals. So,
and it's like sometimes you just need a day like, okay, I can't fully adult today. I'm just going to just do the bare minimum. And sometimes you need those bare minimum days.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And then you do it again, try it again later.
Definitely. And I think that those non-adulting days are the days that you sit at home in your pajamas and you watch, you binge Netflix shows or whatever. And those are cool. That's those mental health days that we all need to have.
Yes. So looking after your mental health is a form of adulting. So definitely.
So anyway, as far as the first thing on my list, and this is something that I've not done well, and I think only since I've been in my current job that I had a really good program in place, is saving for retirement, because I'm not a very good saver. I really am not. And we've talked about money in the past. I am not very good with money. And so the nice thing about it is we're kind of forced into it. I work for a corporate nonprofit, and part of your full-time employment requirement, as part of your benefits package, is that you have to sign in. Now, the level of where you sign in, that's up to you.
Right.
But you have to sign into or sign up for the retirement thing. So that's been great because I don't even see it. It's all done pre-tax, and so it just goes into the little. I don't even see that money. So that's been really great. And then kind of the next part of that goal is, now that I've got my credit card paid off, I'm starting, to have a little more money in my bank account. I'm going to try to start putting it into a savings account to cover things like emergencies, and, that you need in life.
The financial advisor that I've been seeing, he's like, you got to have a short term and a long term savings. Like, think about what are you saving for the long term and what are you saving for the short term? And I was like, I've never thought of that. I just have a savings account. He says, well, let's have more than one, and let's think of that one as long term and that one as short term. And I'm like you. Sometimes I'm not best at saving. Just because I've been working too many jobs and just making it. And now that I've changed jobs and making a little bit more money, he's like, I want you to think about saving. And for me, what works is just taking it out. Don't let me see it. Make it automatic. So that also works for me too. So not just the 401k, but I have a forced savings account at my bank where they go in and take the money out, put it in my savings. I'm like, I need that. I just need someone just to be that hand of God, just come in and take it. And you're not spending that. So
where I get in trouble with that, and I do have that too, because I have, actually I have 3 accounts. And one of them is, it's automatically, it withdraws from every time I get paid, part of it goes right in there. It's a little bit. It's not much, but it's a little bit. But at any rate, I know it's there. Yeah. And so then when I'm like, oh, I need this thing, I go into my savings account and I just transfer things. Yeah. The money shuffle. So I need to get better about that. Yeah.
So my list is a little different when it comes to adulting, just because I'm thinking kind of big, broad, things that I should be doing and things that I have done in the past and enjoy too. I need to bring those back. Don't let just getting older take that off your list. And one of them is taking a vacation solo. I used to, before I became a mom, would I want to go to Seattle and just hang out for a week, and just did it and just hung out. And my parents were like, what are you doing? You're by yourself. And I'm like, I'll be fine, y'all. But, you need to learn how to travel by yourself and enjoy your own company. Yeah. And I read a lot of books, and I went journaling, and I hiked a lot, and I was always around other people, so I felt safe. But just enjoying your own company. So I do encourage people to think about one form of adulting is enjoying some time on your own, going somewhere that you've never been, and enjoy a trip solo.
I think that, and a lot of people are afraid to do that. And I remember when you took that Seattle trip, and I didn't know you as well as I know you now. That was a long time ago.
It's a bit of a long time.
But at any rate, I was so impressed because I, at that point in my life, would never have traveled solo. Now I do it. I go to events by myself. I have no qualms. I like my own company.
Right.
But at that point in my life, I was a little nervous about traveling. That just seemed like trips are things you do with other people,
right.
not with yourself. But now I'm totally hip about it. But you've always been braver.
I just because I don't want to wait for someone to want to go. Like if I sit around and wait for someone to want to go, I'll be waiting forever. And I think that there's baby steps there. Like if you're someone scared to go go to a restaurant by yourself and then go to the movies by yourself.
Yes.
Like take those baby steps. But you need to be able to enjoy your own company and, that quiet time and you get so much done. And like, I don't have to wait for someone to be on the same page as me. Now I do love traveling with other people. I love it. But like, I really want to go see Seattle. And I'm like, dang, I'm going to do it. So,
and sometimes your interest may be different than your friends or the people you normally travel with, and so it's kind of like it gives you the opportunity to do something you love or see something you really are interested in that your normal traveling companions might not be into.
And it also forced me out of a comfort zone in some way. Like I had to figure out like how to get to the airport to where I was staying, and I had to figure out like what museum is open one day. I had to do it all myself. So it was a growing experience, but I do recommend it for everybody.
I think it's a great goal for adulting.
Definitely.
Well, another on my list of adulting, which is something that I'm actually pretty good at, but I need to do more of just because it's that aging body, is healthcare well visits, making sure that you're including all of those every year. One thing that came up last year for me is high eye pressure, which I didn't even wasn't even on my radar. My dad had glaucoma and my mom had macular degeneration. So I'm very, very good about going for my yearly visit to get my eyes checked. And you and I actually go to the same eye doctor.
We do.
So you know who I'm talking about. And I was in the office this last... I guess it was last January. My eye pressure has been borderline high. It's not considered glaucoma yet, but it's been borderline high. So he said, come back in 6 months and we're going to check it again. And so I came back in 6 months and he was like, your eye pressure is definitely high. I can't qualify it as glaucoma because it has to be over a 2-year period.
Right.
Before they will diagnose it. But I'm definitely on that trend. And so it's super important that I go back for my 6 months to have that monitor to make sure that if that trend continues, that I get the medication that I need so I don't have any vision loss.
Right. It's important. You got to prioritize it.
Yeah. So that one I think is important for most people, and I know insurance is always a problem. But if your budget allows you, make sure that you're getting those well visits.
Right.
It's really important, especially as we age.
Definitely. So my next one's very different from that, but it's also still related to travel, because travel is something I used to do all the time, and I love it. But, I'm also trying to save and be mindful. So I'm trying to be, economical when I'm traveling. But something that I have always talked about but never done is I want to see the Northern Lights in person.
Ooh.
And it's like one of those things like I want to do this or I want to fix that. It's not going to magically do itself. You have to be purposeful and do it. So I don't know when, but it's going to be in the near future where I want to go and see the Northern Lights with my own eyes in person.
I've never seen them. I've only seen video. It's really freaking cold.
Yeah, well, wherever you go, it's going to be cold. It's going to be cold, and I don't do well cold.
But it is amazing.
Yeah, and I want to see it. I've seen videos, and I'm like, no, this is something I want to see with my own eyes. And I'm sure all of us out here have things like, I've always wanted to see this in person and do this in person. Like, I've always talked about going to, I think it's Albuquerque where they have the balloon festival. I'm like, I've always wanted to see that in person. No one's going to suddenly put this trip in your lap. You're going to have to go, I'm going to do this and I'm going to schedule it and I'm going to go and I'm going to adult it. I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to go. I'm going to stop talking about it and I'm going to make it happen.
Well, exactly. It's that intention, and speaking that intention out loud is sometimes part of that process, because then it's like, sounds a little woo-woo, I guess, but when you say it out loud, it's like putting it out there in the universe.
Definitely, yeah.
And so, yeah, definitely. I think that's a neat goal. So I have to have a follow-up question, though.
Yeah.
So, where do you want to
I don't know.
see the Northern Lights?
I don't know. I know it's going to have to be up north. That's Northern Lights. But I'm going to figure it out. I've always thought about going to Iceland and going seeing it from up there, but, making a nice trip out of it. But I think back to my dad, and my dad always talked about wanting to travel. And he was the one who was waiting around for someone like, let's organize a trip and go. And I'm like, Dad, I'm working, and our brothers are working. He always waited for one of us to be available, and we were never available. And he was sad because I want to travel, see the country, I want to do this. He just waited for someone else to do it with him. And I kept saying, Dad, do it on your own. You can do it on your own. And he was too scared. And so now that's ringing true with me. I'm like, no, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to do it. Now, right now, I got an 11-year-old kid, so I can force him to do whatever he wants. I want to do. But when he gets older, he's not going to be available. Like, Mom, I can't stop working. I got to, whatever. So I need to do this. I need to get on top of it. And if it's important to me, I need to put my focus on it. So that's what adulting's all about. Like, if this is important to me, I need to do it. So, that's a big one for me.
That's really cool. I do have one that has to do with travel on my list, and that's to travel overseas.
Yes.
Because I have never been overseas.
You got to leave the country, girl. You got to leave it.
Well, I planned on it this last year, and that something happened, and I couldn't go, and I was very disappointed because I was getting ready to actually go to Mexico. And it just looked lovely. It looked like something out of a movie set. I was going to go to Aquamal, but again, didn't happen. So that's definitely something in my future is that I want to, before my passport expires.
Yeah.
I really want to go overseas. So right now we're thinking Scotland is the destination
lovely,
for my first overseas trip.
Yeah, definitely. And again, you've got to stay on top of it and prioritize it and like put money away deliberately for it.
Yeah.
And it's all possible.
It won't happen this year. I mean, just because there's too many things. When I say this year, I'm talking 2024. We have too many other obligations in 2024 for us to do that, but probably 25.
Yeah. It's just, I think for me, it's like the future's not promised.
Right.
And if we wait to travel to when we retire, we're going to be too tired and too poor. Like there's a picture of this elderly couple. They're asleep in the gondola in Venice. And they're like, this is why you shouldn't wait to travel until after you retire because you're going to be too tired to do it. So if this is important to you, you need to prioritize it and do it. This is what adulting is all about. So.
It is. It is. And I think in today's world and with the kind of work that I do, I've already talked to my friends who I travel with, is I could literally travel and work. I mean, it's not ideal, but it's a way for me to extend my time overseas, is that I can split it between work and
definitely
and vacating.
Yeah, vacating. Well, here's a small one, and this is an important one. It sounds silly, but if you're the type of person that waits for someone else to say I love you and then you say it back, step up, be an adult. Come on, say it first. Don't be shy. Just gotta say I love you first if you mean it. Because, again, tomorrow's not promised. And if that's how you feel about someone, you gotta speak up and you gotta say it. So I was about to say man up, but that just, I said it in my head. I was like, no, baby, don't say it. Adulting is all about, living with that purpose and being responsible. And if that's what you're thinking and feeling, you got to get it out there and do it.
I would definitely agree with that. I think that if you don't say those words, there's this huge amount of regret that you may have later in life. If something does happen, you never know the path that those words will take you down. And it may not be reciprocated, from if you're talking about a romantic sense.
Right.
But there's lots of other kinds of love.
Right.
There's friendship love, and love of a child or love of a pet or love of lots of things. And it's okay to say those words.
Yeah.
I don't think we say it enough because we tend to romanticize love.
Yeah.
And that's only one tiny little portion of love in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
So,
what else is on your list of adulting?
Well, I'm looking at this. And this is so boring. I mean, it really is. It's boring.
Well, adulting can be many things.
It's true. But house repairs. I know, but I'm living it right now. So I think that's part of the reasons it's top of mind is making sure that you're keeping up with the house repairs and keeping your house current and safe. One thing that happened to us, I guess it was a year and a half ago now, is that our bathroom got a leak. And we didn't know how bad this leak was. And so we essentially had to tear our entire shower out, replace the wall behind the shower because the leaking had gone into the wood and rotted all the wood on one wall of our house. And so we didn't know that was even happening. And not saying it was our fault, although the insurance company tried to make it sound that way. It was definitely one of those things that was hidden, and so we couldn't see it.
Right.
But it's super important if you own property to make sure you're doing those regular inspections, because if we had caught that earlier, it would have cost so much less money to repair it. The other thing is make sure that you're going through a reputable contractor that has the correct inspections in place, because with that shower incident, we didn't have those inspections done. They did not waterproof the shower. So that was how the leak started, was it got through a crack in the tile and then it just went from there. So it's super important to make sure you're having the inspections done, that you're doing the maintenance that you need, because otherwise it's going to bite you in the butt.
I just lived through a renovation 2 years ago, and I mean, doing all the legwork of getting all your bids and making sure that people are reputable and like talking to people who use them and, ask them about the process and how they're going, their warranties for their work. Dang, that's some adulting, hard adulting.
That is hard adulting.
And that if you've never been through a renovation, your tendency may go like, oh, look, this really small bid, I can do this. I always question that really low bid. Like, do they know? And so, just sometimes you got to be adult and do your homework and, talk to people who've gone through it and just question everything. Yeah, it's hard adulting, but you got to do it. You got to, be mindful of it. Well, you talked about that being a little boring, and this is one that no one likes to talk about, but we got to get it out there, and that is having a comprehensive will, having that done.
Yeah.
Even if you do not own property or have children, you still need a will. You still need a will. When my dad passed, we were all grown adult children. He didn't have any property because we had to sell everything to help him survive pay for assisted living. And he didn't have a will. And it was so hard. And, we all try to get him to talk about, what does he want, end-of-life decisions. And he didn't want to talk about it. It was just too morbid. And then when he passed, it made everything so hard. It made everything so hard because we didn't know how to really live up to his wishes and what he wanted. And then the legal process of, because we didn't have a will, I remember sitting there with a clerk of court. She's like, this process is going to be a lot harder for you because you don't have a will. And I'm like, I know. And it took forever. And of course, it hit right before the pandemic. And then so I was trying to deal with his estate without a will during the pandemic, which made everything harder. So it took over a year for me to settle it.
It's a hard one. And a lot of people don't like to talk about end of life. They don't like to talk about the process of, having a will or a living will or
a trust.
Yeah, any of that. Because it's almost like they think it's cursing themselves or, that if they don't have it in place, then they won't need it.
Right.
But the thing is, making sure that you have those decisions made and having them documented while you're still in a good
frame of mind.
I was trying to think of a way of saying that.
In a nice way.
Because sometimes as you get older, you can't make those decisions on your own anymore.
Yeah.
And there are lots of free or low-cost ways of doing this. You can download forms on the internet. You can get them notarized at your local bank or sometimes at the library, depending on where you are. So there are lots of ways of doing this that are low cost.
Right.
But it's so important because it takes so much stress off of your family.
Yeah.
To your experience with your dad. Please. That's so important.
Yeah. I get that my dad just thought it was morbid, but I'm like, eventually there's going to be a time where we can sit down and just have a serious conversation. And he could have, if he didn't want to have a conversation with us, he could have very easily just got his phone and recorded something and said, when I pass, play this. Just something. But getting a will is helping out those people, your loved ones, when it's over. So that whole, like, I don't want to think about it, it's morbid, you're making it so much harder for your loved ones to deal with stuff. And it is worth a couple hours of your time. And if you don't know where to start, approach your bank. Most banks have relationships with lawyers and have like deals where they can help you figure out how to do it. And you want to do it in a legal way. Make sure you're doing it in a legal way. And then have a copy of it and then give it to someone. Like if you've said, okay, I want you in charge of my kid, or I want you to look after my property, make sure that person has a copy of it and knows how to find it. It's some hard adulting. I get it. But it's so important. And once you've gone through it without a will, you realize, wow, this was hard. This was hard.
And I think in addition to wills, I think also your healthcare power of attorney, making sure that you also have your end of life, like medical decisions documented. Different states have different terms for them. So I can't say that this is exactly what you need to look for. You need to talk to someone at your bank, at your place of employment. Lots of times HR can help you with this as well. But it's important you have something in place in case you are hospitalized to say, this is what I want done with my body. I don't want to be resuscitated, or I do want to be resuscitated, or whatever. Those are all decisions you need to make. So that, again, your family is not burdened with that. Right.
So I know that our list is small, but it is important. I know we're all adulting in everyday life. We're doing all these mundane, everyday tasks that need to be done, but there's some other things now that you're in midlife you need to be thinking about. And I know it's not fun and sexy, but it's important, and it's part of adulting at this time of life. Still want you out there and having fun and like traveling and doing some things outside your comfort zone, but prioritize these things. They're important.
They are, for sure.
It's hard to talk about adulting.
Isn't it?
Because it sounds so, but it's not just going to the doctor and taking care of your house and taking care of things and writing a will. It's also prioritizing things that you've always wanted to do. Like if you've always said, hey, I've always wanted to take a trip. Like one of my things is I always wanted to take a train trip around the United States, like buy one of those tickets that lets you get off and on and take and see the country. I have to prioritize that. I have to plan that and do that. It's not just going to plan itself and arrive on your lap. Now is the time to adult and go, hey, I'm going to do this in 2025, and I'm going to do it this time. I'll do it here. And if you want to join me, join me. If not, I'm going by myself. So you have to, now is the time to start prioritizing those things, because tomorrow's not a promise to anybody.
Exactly.
And it's time to do it, girl.
Oh, I agree 100%. I think that part of being an adult is knowing yourself too.
Yeah.
And being able to kind of look within yourself and figure out what those priorities are for you, because as I said before, our list is probably different than your list.
Yeah, definitely. It could be. Or maybe your list is, maybe we added some things to your list.
Exactly. So that's part of being an adult, is being able to kind of self-analyze a little bit. Much easier to do it now than when we were in our 20s.
Yes, definitely. But also has some the timeliness to it. Like when we were in our 20s, we didn't think about, I need to see the country now because we won't have time. Now's the time.
Right.
Now's the time.
Right. And I think that that's part of recognizing our own mortality and what we want to accomplish in our lives before we don't have it anymore.
So hopefully you added some stuff to your list, or you thought about having a list, or maybe you don't want a list, but now's some time to prioritize. This is important and I need to get it done.
Definitely. So something else that you might want to get done is you might want to follow us on social media.
Please follow us. We're really cool.
We try, we're trying to create good content, and we really want to have a conversation with you.
Definitely.
So we are on Facebook, we are on TikTok, and we are on Instagram.
And we're on YouTube now.
That's right. Yeah. We are on YouTube. So make sure you find us there. Make sure you find us, follow us, subscribe.
All those things.
All the things.
All those buttons you want to touch, just hit it. So let us know that you're there and listening.
Yeah. And so in response to this episode, we'd love to know what's important to you. What are you adulting with right now? And then thanks for listening, y'all. Thank you for joining us for Free Range Flock. Our goal is to inspire and celebrate who we are, the Generation X kids who grew up and decided to do things their way, with grace, humor, and joy. This has been a production of Sassy Am. If you want to learn more about our podcast, follow our blog, share your positive insights about being a free ranger, or to suggest topics or guests for future episodes, please visit our website at sassyam.com. That's SASSAYAM.com. Keep pushing.